Isn't she beautiful? So I'm just getting to the Walmart parking lot. It looks like our trailer's falling apart. Look at this bolt hanging on. All right, so I knew I was taking a chance when I showed up at this dude's house without him answering. When he finally came up the driveway, he was like, yeah, man, my Facebook was going crazy this morning. And I knew it because he offered this thing for $200. And basically, the boat's worth $200 and the trailer's probably worth $200. So we probably saved $200. You know, he could have listed it for $400 and it might have took him a week or two to sell. But obviously, we went and picked it up, and so he sold it in about 15 hours. So now the idea is to pressure wash it, paint it, replace that one tire. After I've got it cleaned up and looking good, I'm gonna end up trading it, or selling it rather, for a 12 or 10 foot flatboat, because this one's too big for our airboat project. All right, Walmart did not sell any U-bolts, so luckily this thing stayed on just like it was, and we didn't even need a U-bolt to connect the leaf spring to the trailer without anything bad happening. So we're home now. Bearings are nice and cool. So if we bought a tire at Walmart, it would have ended up being $100 after tax. So this one's held up for at least 2 hours with some air, and it's going just fine for now. All right, so I'm not trying to invest a lot of money into this project. $100 on a tire would have almost doubled our cost of this project so far. So we're not trying to do that. Basically, this boat is a 14 foot, which is too big, I think, for our project. All right, we got Ez out here help me paint. Green at the bottom. It's hard, huh? There you go. All right, here. Not too shabby. All right, I'm wiping the boat down with paint thinner before I spray paint anything. Try and make this paint stick a lot better. Shouldn't be using acetone. All right, the previous owner filled the small hole with just some house silicone, and it came right off when I scrubbed it with the acetone rag. The hole doesn't look that big, and I'm gonna try and use something that's more like for metal. I don't have the capability to weld aluminum, or this would be an easy fix, but I'm gonna try and use like some all weld, some JB Weld, something that's meant for metal instead of silicone. All right, we didn't pick up anything essential from Walmart, but we did pick up $35 worth of paint so we can make this sucker look better. I'm still going to end up taking off this piece of wood back here and unbolting all these things, but I've already started painting, so I'll probably come touch this up later on. No, don't ever do something like this with a mask on, because that'll take away your man points. Totally joking, inhaling stuff like this as a carcinogen can give you cancer, so always wear a mask. All right, I ended up buying, I think, 4 cans of paint and 1 short. So I'm gonna have to get 1 more green color. I'm gonna get this one again and get rid of some of this, I don't know, that strange looking green that they had on there before. And because this color, I think it's a little too light, this tan. All right, here she is after her 30-minute paint job. I think it came out pretty decent. The only thing I wish I would have done a little better was on the front. I did not completely cover all the scratches when I first started, so I'd say this little front panel looks the worst. The reason was I was going to put some C-Deck foam up here, some foam floor, and I don't have it anymore, so I got to scrap that idea, so I just went ahead and painted it. Alright, so I may have accidentally just sold this trailer without even trying. And by accident, I mean, I was texting a guy on Facebook Marketplace about this trailer. I got it listed for $580, and it has a title. It had a 18-foot fiberglass boat on it, and this guy's telling me, yeah, I'm looking for a trailer for my 14-foot flatboat, 36-inch. I'm like, are you kidding me? I was like, this is completely overkill for that boat. I said, what you really need is something that this boat just came off of, but this is a 48-inch flatboat, so this is even bigger than what he's got. Came off of this one. So I told him, look, I got this one for $250. However, it doesn't have a jack on the front and there's no title. And he was like, yeah, I want it. So this dude's driving like an hour and a half to come get it. Well, one, I don't even have, there's no bolt right there holding this on, so I gotta go get a bolt, drill a hole for this guy and stick that in there. And then if y'all remember, our U-bolt on this side is hanging on by a freaking piece of wire, so I've got to get some nuts on there. And I think I'm going to actually just cut this right here with the side grinder and then put my bolts going right through this. Oh, and the lights, I got this magnetic light kit I'm going to slap on here, but still haven't even done that, and this dude's like on his way, so now I got to get cracking on this one. Alright, this U-bolt broke, so we ended up buying this one right here for $5. It is not quite the same size, but I think it's going to work. Oh yeah, that's perfect. Oh, maybe not. Let's see. Oh yeah, still perfect. Already happen to have some lock nuts that I bought from Harbor Freight a while back. Those fit perfect. I'll get those tightened up. So I originally bought these magnetic lights from Harbor Freight for 35 bucks. And I was going to use it to get sketchy trailers like this home. But since this trailer has absolutely zero lights on it, I'm going to go ahead and slap it on here because this guy's coming in the morning. Alright, now I've got to move on to sealing up these 4 holes right here. And the one hole that was covered with the silicone in the front, and I'm going to list it, and then I'm going to work on this transom right here. So if somebody wants to buy it with the transom like it is, I'll sell it for, I'm not even sure, And then if I gotta actually unbolt everything, go get some pressure treated wood, cut it to size, put it in there, I'm gonna try and get like 350, maybe 400 for it. That's that other hole. All right, for this little pinhole in the front, I just wiped some acetone over the hole and then smeared some JB Weld over it. Worked very well. That'll do it. For these holes back here, I'm gonna put JB Weld on them. However, the holes are too large that the JB Weld is gonna push right through. So I'm just gonna put some blue tape on the back side. All right, I'm just wiping this down with acetone. This is the JB Weld that's meant for metal, so make sure you get that if you end up buying this. They do have plastic weld and other different types. And I'm just using a palette knife to mix this up, but you can use a nail, a toothpick, putty knife, anything you got. Make sure I push it all the way into the hole. And then I'm going to smooth it out so you don't even know there's a hole there. Alright, it's the next day. These are looking really good, nice and hard. Alright, this is what the back side looks like. This little chunk was still on there from earlier. That was silicone. But anyway, look at that. That's so cool. It's super hard. It's gonna work great. Alright, yes, I did forget to sand all the paint off of this side, but I'm hobbling around on my broken leg and I'm not going all the way back out to the shed to go get the side grinder and then bring it all the way back out there. I just can't do it. So it is what it is. But I think this is gonna work. And it's gonna work really well. And it's gonna last for a couple of years. And if it even has a catastrophic failure where all 4 of these holes happen to bust at one time, it's not like it's gonna sink this boat. You'd be able to put your darn finger over these tiny little holes. And somebody'd be able to get back to the launch and, you know, weld it or something. But I think this is good for our purposes. I mean, we're talking about a 14-foot John. This is not a luxury yacht. Alright, I'm happy with that. We're just going to wait till that dries before we paint it. That takes care of all the holes under the water line. All right, so now that you've seen the numbers, I'm sure some of you are thinking like, bro, you did all that work, you flipped 2 boats, and you only made, what, $600? Like, is it even worth it? And I guess the point of this is if you have a job where you make like $500 a day, no, it's probably not worth it. You don't need the money, right? But maybe you only make $250 a day or $300 a day, and you're struggling to get by, and $600 in a weekend could freaking like change your life basically, because $600 times 4 weekends, dude, we're talking about $2,400 a month you could possibly do by flipping little boats like this. So something like that could certainly change somebody's life, and it's possible. You see, I'm doing this with a freaking broken leg, okay, by myself with no help. So I think one, it's small projects is what I'm able to do now. Obviously if I had help, or not a broken leg, I could do even bigger projects. And it's also going to depend on the market. We're in South Louisiana. People love boats. 2, it's springtime. It's freaking March, April 1st actually today. The timing is right. So anytime from February to like freaking October around here, people are boating, and you can certainly sell boats like that, like nothing. So are you going to make $1 million side hustling boats? No, probably not. You know, you'd have to have a real team to do something like that. But can this be done like on the weekend when you have spare time? I've got a 5-year-old shadowing me around and a freaking broken leg, right? So if I can do this, and think about the hours that I put into this. So I only did 2 hours probably on the sailboat, if that, and then another 4 hours on this boat, and half of that was driving because I had to drive an hour to get it. So if you can get something closer and don't have to drive that far, it's really not that much work. The worst thing to come out of this whole weekend for me is that I ruined one of my favorite shirts when I leaned over the green paint a minute ago. So my Who's Your Daddy t-shirt needs to be replaced. One more thing I want to address before I get some stuff in the comments is everybody's going to say, oh, he's just got a sprained ankle because he's got a boot on. No, sir. I had a major surgery. I ended up tearing 2 tendons, 3 fractures, and cartilage damage. So I could even show my x-ray right here. So this is probably about 3 weeks out of surgery, and no, my mother and doctor would not recommend me lifting a flatboat, but I barely put any pressure on it.
I'm a turkey. I'm a turkey. I'm a very, 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 very happy turkey.